when we're engaging in immortality, we need a correct connection to time. Time is often wrongly associated with aging and eventually death. So if we're to live immortally, we must sever that negative link to time. We need to be untethered from the mindset of the inevitability of aging and its connection with time and ultimately death. That mindset needs to be broken and changed. We need our mind renewed to the truth of what immortality really is. So if we're to embrace immortality, we need to abide in Jesus and become aware of Jesus's life abiding in us. So we live in a state of being in communion or union and oneness with him. We also need a correct relationship with time that enables that immortal state of being. So we mustn't be restricted by the time as a hard fact, but how time can be shaped and bended and suspended and contracted and expanded. And time also is a being. So communion in that relationship with Jesus is partaking of Jesus' life in his body and blood, but that needs to go beyond an act of taking communion as a religious act or even an faith act, and therefore doing something to become where we're living in a state of being in communion. That is the state of continual communion with abundant life. I am in union and fellowship with abundant life, so there is no death within that relationship. There is no death in that connection. So the very air that we breathe can sustain us in that state of communion. We're drawing in life, the spirit, as we breathe in. And this is a progressive process that we go through as we move from taking communion as an act to being in communion as a state of consciousness. I went through that process during a few years, and I believe that as we go through this process of renewing our mind, it gives us a correct awareness and connection with time itself. And I think that is really important if we're to embrace the abilities that we are being given as sons. It is the ability to engage with time. The Father breathed into Adam, and Jesus breathed into his disciples, and we can breathe the life of the Spirit with every breath we take. That is what real communion is in life. We do not need to die if we embrace immortality as an intentional state of being in continual communion with life. And that's how I would describe immortality, if you like, the intentional state of being in continual communion with life. So time serves us as sons of God. We can learn to contract and expand time more effectively, efficiently. Then we are never too busy, never anxious or worried, but are always at peace, ruling from a place of rest, because we're not restricted by the concept that time may have had or put on us. Now, in my walk with God, God kept giving me more and more opportunities, so I had to rule time to enable me to take them, because I couldn't fit them into my natural schedule. So I had to create a schedule to be able to do that. Therefore, I expanded half an hour to become a day or half a day, and then contracted it back, and then I did all I could do in a half a day or a day in that half an hour or hour. And that really was how I began to increase my capacity to do the things that God was calling me to do as a son of God.